When Sonic Frontiers first released, the first thing that popped into my head was doing it without upgrading skills or stats, which of course I did, and I made a video on it. If you haven't seen that yet, I suggest you go and watch it, either now or bookmark it for later. Anyway, at the time for me, hard difficulty with no upgrades was the true extreme difficulty, but with update 1 now released, extreme mode is actually a thing. Our call to make this game actually challenging was answered. I didn't think I'd be returning to this challenge this soon, but here we are. Similar to before, we want to push Sonic's ability to the limits and take down all the Guardians on each island. Of course, skill upgrades are not allowed, apart from the story unlocks, and neither are any major glitches. We're also going to limit fishing to further test Sonic. If you've never played extreme difficulty, the rundown of it is that enemies have more health, Sonic's stats are locked at level 1, and he will die in one hit. Even as Super Sonic. Also, cyberspace ranks are very strict. So, with all our rules in place, let's get started. Even in cyberspace, Sonic will still die with 1 point of damage. I decided to allow myself to use the cyberspace power boost. You can unlock this by getting all S ranks in the cyberspace challenges. It's activated by default and doesn't require 400 ranks to use. But even with this in place, getting an S rank is still challenging. You'd have to be very skilled to do all the missions in one go for most of the stages, so for 1-1 I didn't bother. After getting all the red rings and the S rank, I decided to just collect all 150 rings without worrying about time. Now when I say 1 point of damage, I mean 1 point of damage is enough to kill Sonic. Knockback specific attacks such as when the soldiers shield up or when the tower jumps away won't actually hurt him, so he's safe from those. Because of limited fishing, I wanted to collect as many tokens as I can on the lead up to Oranos Island to get the most value out of my time, so any and all memory tokens I spot are priceless to progressing. Our first major fight is the Triangusi fight. No, sorry, I meant the Thick Ninja Mommy. No, sorry, I meant the ninja fight. Sorry, I think my mic broke a little bit there. Ninja's attacks are pretty slow, which doesn't exactly fit the character, but I'm not complaining. Anything to keep me alive and I'm okay with it. Now the game will force you to collect cyloop by this point. It's one of the 4 skills we're allowed, so it's okay. You can use it to get your ring count all the way up to 400 and then you won't need to worry about losing a single ring until you decide to fight a ghost. I know not everyone likes the power boost, so if you are one of those people, keep that in mind if you decide to try this challenge yourself. We need an extra gear to enter 1-2, so next up is the first of 4 Richards. You can easily take this thing down by approaching it from a much higher place. The lack of skills available limits your options, but as soon as you reach the head, it's basically done for. Next is the notoriously difficult 1-2, which is made more difficult on Extreme. The stage has no 2D sections in it. You can make full use of rail momentum and magnet dashing to get a good time. The rings and red rings are nothing to write home about, but don't expect to be able to beat all the missions in one go. Now that we're past the tutorial, we can get to the exciting stuff. If you have the DLC applied, you can visit Amy straight away to unlock Grand Slam. While I did have it active, I did some other tasks first, since I didn't need it right away. The first group of soldiers I fought dropped the portal gear, so that allowed me to go straight to 1-3. Power boost allows the 2D parts of cyberspace to feel a lot faster. While not perfect, the stage did feel a lot better than it has in the past. The stricter times from extreme mode are really starting to beat my ass here. A stupid amount of attempts later, and all the keys were acquired. Asura proved to be quite a lot of trouble. The boss is janky enough as is, but basically any amount of it is a kill on Sonic here. Getting a hit away when you destroy a target doesn't count as damage, but basically everything else that Asura can do will. I completely forgot about using cyloop at their feet to get some extra gears, so I swung by the other Asura later on to avoid fighting more Guardians than I needed to. 1-4 was a lucky stage. It's really easy compared to the rest of the stages on this island, and I was good enough to get all the keys in one attempt. Correction from earlier, I had enough keys for all the emeralds on the island, so I didn't need any more gears. It was just memory tokens left. Giganto decided he wanted to throw a wedge into the challenge and slow me down. Unfortunately, they were actually successful. After a few minutes, they had decided enough was enough and fucking killed our boy Sonic. Poor guy. Continuing with the story, we've got the Sonic Generations goofy ass side missions to get through, and because it's extreme difficulty, you don't get any second chances if you take damage. You gotta start it again, even if the hitbox brushes past you. The next minigame is avoiding the bees to cut the grass down, which once again, you only get 1 life for. Using infinite boost is really helpful in this mission to avoid any slowdown. Another Richard was in the way of the final emerald, but after they were gone, there's not much of the island left. Certain hits that Sonic takes only actually take effect when he touches the ground, so if you hold a parry, you could get lucky and stop yourself. Next up was the light beam puzzle, which after having played through the game a few more times, there is a surefire 100% method, which I won't waste my time talking about just now because we still have to fight the squid. Chrono's squid is really straightforward, just parry their attacks and punch them otherwise. You can also dodge at the end of each combo to start the next one sooner. Sonic becomes wide, expressing his true power, and now without using Grand Slam, good luck beating Giganto. You won't deal nearly enough damage to win fast enough. After a Cyloop Slam or a Grand Slam, Giganto will attack again. Just lead that into another Grand Slam and phase 1's fine. Phase 2, however, the lasers from their back as well as the projectiles will still one-shot Sonic, so your movement and position have to be on point to avoid this. For the first few attempts, I was unsuccessful on that. I would highly suggest learning laser skip to make this more efficient. To pull off laser skip, you essentially have to be mid-dodge when Giganto starts the animation. The laser won't damage you, so you can dive right back in since Giganto will go for a melee strike instantly, continuing your Grand Slam sequence. A couple of more tips I can give that I didn't do myself is to cyloop Giganto right at the start so you can begin Grand Slams sooner. And in the second phase, it's actually possible to clip inside them from their neck, and you can cyloop without worrying of taking damage. A couple of attempts and our first Titan is down.
Welcome to the family, son.
Now we're moving on to Ares Island. Certainly not the hardest of islands, but it's got the most difficult guardians in my opinion. Not everyone will agree, but I'll show you why they're wrong. I used the rails leading up to the Strider to get right onto its rings to save some time, but by the time I reached the core, I couldn't deal enough damage.
Come to think of it, I feel like getting Cyclone Kick is a better idea.
Yeah, past me was right. I grabbed some memory tokens close to where Knuckles was captured. I'm more than familiar with Sonic's abilities, so this really speeds up the process of platforming. With Cyclone Kick in our arsenal now, we can return to the Strider, die, and then we can start the fight over. Shout out Ashley for the raid, by the way. You can get the most damage out of the Cyclone Kick by dodging right after the final hit to save time between attacks, and completely avoid the second phase. After wiping the floor clean of the Strider, I'm going straight for the Shark. Learning my lesson from the original challenge, I've got the extra move this time, and a better PC, so there's no frame drops. Isn't that nice? Applying the same strategy as Strider, dodging out the way after Cyclone Kick's final hit, I was able to get the Shark's HP down almost all the way, but they escaped very close to the end. Another Shark cycle and they're down. We can grab some keys from 2-1. Stages that are fully 2D don't benefit from the power boost too much. All the keys were nice and easy to grab in 2 attempts. As of update 1, the results screen will tell you if you used homing dash or not, but there's no actual drawback to it, so don't be ashamed of using it. After the first emerald, we're on to Wyvern Escape. I am awful at this part of the game, so I was mad surprised that I got it first try. I then took a route that is absolutely not the intended method to get to 2-4. Pretty sure I've never done this part right. 2-4 is one of the much easier stages on this island, but the extreme difficulty does add that extra challenge. Going forward, focusing on red rings and then time is definitely the way to go, unless the stage is somehow that easy. Next big task is the tank. The tank's air phase is timed by how much damage you deal, not hits, so it can take a while to get back onto the ground. But when you do, be sure to cyloop it so it can stay on the ground longer. I'm not sure if I'm just dumb or that you'll never manage to take it down in one cycle, but it's really not too bad, as long as you don't try and attack at stupid moments. Dodge cancelling before the Cyclone Kick is finished works here too, and will be our most effective form of damage until we get Cross Slash. Just like every other minigame in this difficulty, you get one chance or it's a restart. Just be patient with this one in particular, since you can't really let go of the Coco if you pick up too many. Next up is Sumo. Cyclone Kick dodging is a bit iffy here because of Sumo's shape. You should get them down in about 2 cycles. Oh, fuck off! Our next stage is Skyrail. My first attempt in the stage was fully worthless since I only got 1 key. Don't do this. Just apply the same strats as before. It's highly likely the ring missions will complete themselves. I must admit that the S rank time of 1 minute 32 is pretty challenging for this stage. The next minigame from Knuckles isn't exactly difficult, and to be honest, neither is the one after it. I still can't believe that on my first playthrough I actually thought you had to take down the towers bit by bit and not just run up them. I was having trouble with the tokens, and it's not like I had any chance of seeing where they were because I didn't beat any map challenges. Last cyberspace stage for the island is 2-3. Red rings are okay, but it took me a really long time to get the S rank. It's pretty strict to get the rank, but of course my silly ass didn't notice that the 3 keys were enough to get the last emerald. With the final puzzle done and the last of the tokens collected, finally, God, I hate this island. Why does it take 242 tokens to finish it? I still find Wyvern to be the easiest of the Titans, and the only thing that will ever be able to change that is to make the parry contingent on timing. You just need to hold the parry until the missile hits and then boost right to the front. Cyclone Kick dodge works here too, but Grand Slams are also very effective, so don't leave them out. The second phase is no different either. The final phase is just a quick time event leading into an extra damage window. If your parries are perfect, which they probably will be, you'll be fine against Wyvern.
Hey man, you need to sit your motherfucking ass down.
Now we're on to Chaos Island, which as always is fun and interesting. As I do every playthrough, I start with Shinobi since there's no immediate upgrades that will really help. Chaos Island manages to confuse me every single time I play it. I'm unfortunately not built like the speedrunners, being able to slingshot across the map wherever I feel like it. Well, that doesn't matter anyway because you need the stomp to do it.
Hang tight, little bro. I won't make you wait.
Sonic, what are you reading?
Either way, what I'm trying to say is, I spent a lot of time going through map challenges, but first was stage 3-1. You know how they say a sign of going crazy is trying the same thing over and over again but still getting the same results? Another sign of me going crazy is continuing to let chat put me off.
DJ the sequel.
Anyway, 3-1 was easy to get all in one go, but I spent a lot of attempts getting it right. Sonic can still manage a surprising amount of damage. The addition of the music tracks in the open zone really makes the more annoying islands that much more tolerable. I chose to take on the fortress next. I clearly haven't learned my lesson that a fortress is blocking my favourite stage on the island, so fighting this one is pointless. I also should have gotten cross slash first, but oh well. If you don't have the stomp ability, you can still technically use it, but only once before you hit the ground, and it doesn't lock on either. Good for a quick finisher, but as a general technique I wouldn't recommend it. Chaos Island is when the treasure bait starts, and it's very frustrating. To anyone who unironically enjoys this island, I hope you get the help you need. 3-2 was up next. It's pretty straightforward if you remember to avoid these spikes. I was able to at least manage all the rings in the first attempt. The 105 was quite tricky for me on this stage. I find the 2D awkward at the end, but with a few more attempts, I got all the red rings and the S rank. As I mentioned constantly, I hate this island with a genuine passion, so a good chunk of progress from just a cyberspace stage is very valuable to me. Our next guardian is the spider. The most efficient way to take on the spider is to side up 2 legs at once. This is easy to do if you allow them to try and attack, and while they're dazed you can easily get 2 at once. In the skydiving part, avoid any and all obstacles because... yeah, I think you all know by this point. Using the extra momentum from the grind rails is a really good way to traverse the island. We can't use slingshot, so this is as close as we can get. I was getting tired of trying to find my way to the blue emerald. No matter what I do, I always struggle with it, but whatever. I first decided to do the stage I despise with all my might. Many attempts later, I got all the keys in one go, which was serious character development. I'm not going to get into detail as to why exploring this island annoys me beyond measure. I haven't really progressed the story at all by this point. I wanted to get as many memory tokens as possible before starting on it. Chaos takes 140 tokens to complete, which is a serious step down from the over 200 required in Ares. So next up is 3-5, Green Hill's version of that one optional stage in Unleashed. It's a dead easy stage and getting all the keys in one shot is no challenge at all. After managing that, we have enough keys to retrieve all the emeralds, so we can fully focus on token collection. To save too much exploring, I decided to grab the white emerald since it's the most out of the way emerald out of the 4 of them. But whatever emerald you choose first still activates the shield escape, and my silly, goofy, wacky self who doesn't speedrun couldn't pull off the skip, so I went from being right at the emerald to miles away from it again. The shield escape itself is nothing special. If you got hit by the shield or fell off in hard difficulty, you had to start over anyway, so not much is different. We've only got one guardian left, but next up is the Ikaruga minigame. This minigame is unchanged for extreme modes, so sitting still does still in fact work. Did you guys know that Ikaruga was recently free to own? Only on Xbox and only in Argentina though. How I know that? I don't know how I do either. The box breaking minigame isn't really different. You'll still die in one hit, which is standard at this point, not really sure why I keep bringing it up. It did take me a couple of tries to manage it, but at least now we can move on. Sonic, what are you doing with that? By the way, I did definitely fight the excavator, I just can't seem to find the footage for some reason. The bridge mission was perfectly okay too. Some parts of it can be skipped if you sacrifice a bit of damage, and well, but one failed attempt and I was done and dusted with that one. Sonic, seriously, you have a problem. One last stretch for the rest of the tokens to unlock Pin, because I can guarantee you that we'll not be fucking balling here, and then we take on the Knight. At first, I was worried that the shield phase would kill me if a missile hit, so I wanted to avoid the shield at all costs. I attempted cyloop, but I couldn't manage. Turns out the missiles don't kill you, so proceeding with the fight as normal is totally okay. After crashing into the Knight, use a cyloop and then mash cross slash to absolutely decimate his HP. Entering the second phase of the fight, parry the shield and then cyloop again. Spam cross slash and that's it. The shield in the second phase will kill you if it touches you, but as long as you're wary of that, the fight's pretty straightforward. Knight doesn't have any haywire projectiles, so good luck. Ray Island as per usual is the easiest of them all. So there isn't really much to talk about here. You can save time by making use of the flat surfaces to boost off and fly over to the towers. Just be careful of this last tower.
What is that?
We've been as powerful as we can possibly be since the start of Chaos, so RNO starts off as simply a massive boss rush. Let's get started. With Red Pillar, you can abuse Cross Slash to cut down the height of it to easily reach the head, and Cyclone Kick or Cross Slash can easily take down the entire boss. Caterpillar is always a bit complicated. The rail grinding is more difficult in Extreme for reasons I don't need to mention, but a lot of the time the Laser Pillar in Phase 2 would one-shot you anyway. I thought I struck gold when I accidentally managed to bounce off the weak spot constantly, but it doesn't last forever. You're much better off hitting a Cyloop and then Cyclone Dodge, or Cross Slash to clean up. Ghost is the only fight in the game where your rings will be forcefully removed from you. It doesn't damage you as your rings are sucked away, so you can freely move around and damage it back as long as you're quick enough. The ring loss is a constant thing, so you won't be able to use Power Boost at all during the fight. Silver Hammer is generally a really awkward fight. Thankfully, its positioning is a bit of a blessing. Just like the Red Pillar, use Cyloop to knock some of its height down, and then there's a flat platform you can boost off of to reach the head. Typical attacks for cleanup, and that's the Silver Hammer scored off the list. We need some keys for progression, so 4-3 is next on the list. The best way to guarantee your S rank on this stage is to avoid the pulleys as much as you can, because when they go down, they take way too long to actually let you go. If you haven't got the hang of the magnet dash yet, go into arcade mode and practice it in this stage. You don't even have to be like fast, just skip the pulleys and you'll be fine. Oh, and don't forget your rings. We only have the ninjas left. The Oranos ninjas have different attacks than the previous ones rather than just an HP increase. Try and fight the Kunoichi high in the air, they can quite easily catch you off guard, so being high up will allow you to break your fall before you take any damage. Master Ninja has slightly different attacks and fights a bit more defensively than the other ninjas. For the Master's laser attack, just boost away. Against the clone attack, get yourself high in the air with a bounce as the clones won't hit you up there. The actual ninja will, so if you hold a parry from here, you can easily initiate a counter attack. Grand Slams don't do too well against Guardians anymore, your other attacks are much more worth it. Considering I've beaten Oranos without fishing before, I didn't see the need to do it again. Not that it mattered because everything is more expensive in extreme mode, which to be honest I knew that, but I was happy to spare the time for it. At least I was until I finished and saw how much everything cost. Come on, 10 times the price, are you serious? So with any form of using fishing to save time out the window, it was back to exploring. 4-8 was next, which I really struggled with. Not a stage I do all too often, so I consulted chat for help on that one. 23 seconds as the time limit is a huge challenge whatever way you look at it. I wouldn't expect this to be possible at the same time as the rings and red rings, unless you're an absolute god. All the Guardians are down by now, so it's just keys and story left. I'll save the hassle of talking about the memory tokens, the only thing I'll say is that you need 190 tokens to finish the island. I'm kinda used to the way Oranos treats you in token hunting. Why can you not be something useful for once, man? Are you gonna be something useful? No, probably not. No way, it was useful, that's mental. After that is 4-2, a stage I can never get enough of. I kept the S ranks separate from the rest of the missions, other than that there isn't too much to mention about this stage. With lots of tokens already gathered, I may as well get the story progressed a bit further and unlock access to the rest of the island, so I collected the emeralds that were available. 4-5 is next up. None of the emeralds on Oranos are collected through special minigames or anything, so you need more keys to finish the island. 4-5 isn't a particularly difficult stage, I would recommend that you pinpoint the easy stages before attempting this run for yourselves. And then 4-4, another stage that I love to bits, it's well designed and has such good music. I did all these missions separately, not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. The S rank for this stage is too strict to try and collect all the rings and red rings at the same time. It's actually not, but I did miss 3 rings on my first try, which was stupid. Doing this all in one go would have been sick, but oh well. Now that I've collected all the keys, we can get the remaining 40, 50 odd tokens we've got left, and then finish the island. Supreme is definitely the hardest of the Titans. I know Giganto did kill me a couple of times, but my excuse for that is that I wasn't used to extreme mode yet. I got through Supreme's first phase by breaking a defense, parrying, using a cyloop, and then cross-lasting their HP all the way down. I wasn't too worried until the second phase. If any of their bullets hit, your fight is over and it's a reset. The same strategy applies to the second phase, but you have to be way more careful on the approach because of all the bullets. You will need to send Supreme back to the ground to initiate the final phase of the fight, but then that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah, unfortunately. Chat and I couldn't really agree on whether the end fight was changed or not, but for once I will talk about it since I did find it to be more difficult than before. I've only ever played the game on hard mode, so I found it surprising that while I've done this a few times, I still managed to fail. Extreme mode failed to take the end boss into account, you will still get 3 attempts to take them down. With a challenge to this degree of difficulty over, I just took the time to enjoy myself at the end.
Why? Why are you guys like this?
You damn well knew what you were getting into. That was pretty well timed. That was pretty well timed. This video took an incredibly long time to make, so any and all support is much appreciated. Leave a like if you enjoyed and drop a comment if you want, I love reading them. And subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. A quick shout out for Miles Workshop who made the remix of the Ghost Battle theme I used in the video. Go check them out, very cool guy. I've been having a ton of fun streaming these challenges. You can join in on the fun over at my Twitch channel that I'll leave in the description for you. I can give you a heads up and say that the next video will most likely be on Sonic Adventure, so I hope you guys look forward to that. As always, my name is Snack, and I will see you in the next one.